Hello all and welcome to the channel. Today I am bringing you 10 economic games that you can play on your own at home wherever you are. Now these 10 games are games that I play quite often, and for context they're games that typically have less administration, less setup. I like a game that is quick and easy to get going without all these bots and what have you. Now I've been playing solo games more so in the last few years, mainly because it's either, number one, difficult to get some gaming groups on the go because of family commitments and what have you. Maybe it's just because people look at those games and go, no, that is not for me. Either way, it's been really nice to dive into some of these games that have just been sitting on the shelf. So here we go, 10 games. I have got no particular order. Well, I have got a bit of an order. I've put my favourites at the top at the end of the video there. So, but as I say, there is loads, and I'll also detail some games that I've yet to try, or maybe I have tried but just didn't want to list them today at the very end of the video. So let's get cracking then. Our first game today is Mobile Markets, a game that sees us taking on Steve Jr. in his AI deck. Now this game is all about producing phones and getting them to the market at the right price, because you've got all these customers here and they vary in range as to what they are after on their phone. Now you've got this interesting player board as well in front of you that you can develop your phone. So there's a lot more interaction with the phone, it feels, compared to something like Smartphone Inc., which I've not actually tried solo, but this game I've played it multiplayer and it works nicely, but it imitates a multiplayer game really well solo, in the fact that Steve is kind of just doing random stuff, but it fits nicely and you're just following this AI deck. Now it's lower on the list for me because there is a little bit of misgivings as to some of the terminology on Steve Jr.'s card, so you are at times in the game kind of like, okay, what does that exactly mean, and what's he doing? So there's a few things to do, but not a lot, and you can really enjoy this game as if it feels like a multiplayer game to me, because when I'm playing it multiplayer, I'm kind of so, thinking about what technology I want, what marketing I want to get the best out of that, what price I'm going for, that sometimes what my opponent's doing, especially in a higher player count, it just is all a bit random anyway. So this imitates that for me, which is why it is on the list, and it just gives me something different from some of my other games. It's, technology focused, and I like that, trying to build a phone and get the certain prices, and sometimes you're ousted, but there's always, generally there's always a lot of customers out there, so you're always tending to sell to someone. So yeah, Mobile Markets. Next up, we have Gonza Index, a game I featured on the channel recently. It's a small box you can play with a higher player count, but equally it works really streamlined as a solo game. I love the theme of this dystopia, and essentially you are trying to invest in these corporations. You've also got these broker cards that can sort of change some of the rules up, and in the solo version you are literally just rolling the dice for as many artificial opponents as you want. I typically just play two players, so me and the dice, the AI. So you roll the dice, you do one at a time, and then you do whatever it says. And you kind of, if they want to buy something, you go for the corporation that has the highest value. If you want a broker card, certain broker cards have little symbols on them to represent the solo mode. If they just take a credit. So it's really streamlined as to what they're doing, and you don't have to think a lot. And it's just a quick game, and this is one of the quicker ones in my list today. Small box, take it anywhere, love the theme. So just a lot to like about this game, and it plays similar time, sort of 15, 20 minutes in that solo game. So yes, Gonza Index. Next up then is a game that probably you've never heard of, and it is called Peak Oil Profiteer. Now this is in the same universe as Peak Oil. I don't believe that one had a solo version, but this one does. Now you head into this war-torn nation, and it's really unique, which is why it is on my list, because I've got nothing quite like it. This feel of area control, and you're essentially heading out, trying to get the right factions to manipulate them as best as you can. Now the AI in this has got its own deck. You flip a card, it's got an action at the bottom, fairly simple, straightforward. They take ownership of all the chips, and you've got these leaders, military, politicians, and religious. So they typically have them all, and you're trying to fight for them to get certain locations, but generally gives you a really good flavour of this game. I probably do just prefer multiplayer because I'm having a good time with the interaction, but again, the randomness in this one, similar to Mobile Markets, it just offers a similar randomness as to what my other players players are doing. And it just gives me a chance to dive into this area, make the most profits, get that oil to the ports, build those derricks and what have you, and just have a good time on this little board here. Now, one thing for me, it's a little niggle, it's just the rolling of the dice. You can be there sometimes, you're rolling to determine where that faction for the AI is going, and it's not, there's little numbers around these territories you can see here, and then you're rolling again and you're rolling again. So there's a few rolls that you're having to do to get the flow of your opponents to go into the right areas. But overall, yeah, really like this one. Okay, the fourth game we have today has been out a few years. I've played it a bunch, and it is Terraforming Mars. What a fantastic game. Now, this one would be higher, but the only caveat for me is, now essentially you are terraforming Mars. You're putting these sea tiles out, you're getting greenery, you're getting the oxygen up, and you're building these cities, and you're generally just trying to get the oxygen, the sea, and the temperature up. That was the one I was forgetting, temperature. And essentially once Mars has been terraformed, boom, you see how many levels you've managed to achieve that on the side track with the VPs. And that's pretty much it. It plays similarly to the main game in the fact that you're just doing your goes, and you just carry on and you carry on, and then you reset when you can't do no more goes. But literally, typically in Terraforming Mars, there's a bit of interaction from your opponents as you're trying to oust players for certain spots to get the most VPs on the board. And obviously you're not using the awards and the milestones in this particular version, which is not too bad, but it really gives you a good flavour of the game. But the caveat I was getting to is, it's kind of a little bit strange just developing Mars on your own. I like other players contributing, and then I'm sneakily getting in there to put a greenery tile next to, a city next to some of their greenery. So yeah, you've just got that track and you're trying to beat how quickly you can terraform Mars. So a lot to like about this one. Okay, up next we have an absolute classic for me, Viticulture. Now this is the Essential Edition, the Tuscany one I've yet to try, but I love that game multiplayer and will always play with that expansion, but I have not tried that solo. But in terms of the Essential Edition, what a fabulous game this one. You are literally taking your workers out, you got your grande worker, your normal workers, you're trying to, plant things, you're trying to harvest things, you're trying to get these tokens and grapes into your winery to meet orders. So loads of goodness going on here, and the AI deck is really smooth and fluent in terms of it tells you where to put your opponent's workers. And again, yeah, it's a bit random sometimes it hurts you more than others, but I like it how it mixes up on the summer season and the winter, and you're just trying to figure out this puzzle of, right, I cannot go there this time, when am I going to save the grande worker just in case the AI does this. You've also got these wine tokens you put on the far left of the game on the wake up track, so you take one of those and it allows you to use a bonus, and once you've used all of them, I think it's 7 rounds, the game's over, and you see how many VPs you've managed to achieve and compare yourself to like a chart of how good you are at making wine. So a lot to like about this game. It is one I can always get multiplayer as well. A lot of people like it, but if I'm just sitting there and I just want a nice little game of this will hit the spot. The next game then is a game I've just featured on the channel recently as a solo playthrough, and it is Austerity. This one, you are taking the finances and the budgets and managing them of your nation, and this is a print and play game. Literally head over to the geek, you can print it out, you just need a few tokens, but this really gives you a good flavour and a streamlined manner of running this nation. You got these tokens in the bag, you got debt, you got these what we got, health ones, blue, white, and you're bringing 2 out at a time, and depending on the combination will determine what is happening to your state, whether it's some kind of attack or something, or you're getting funding, or you got debts. I can't even remember what they are now, but there's a load of them, and they really guide you well on the player board as to what you're supposed to do. You then have to make the difficult decision of cutting certain departments, upping certain things on the track, and at the end of the year you're going to increase your health and all this lot depending on your population. Now this is a solo only game, there's no multiplayer option, but really you can play for about 20-40 minutes. You've got a host of little things you can add on, different departments, different scenarios like Olympics and terrorist type things, tin pot society and stuff. So loads of stuff to add in. For just a game you can go and print and play. I've had a lot of fun with this one. Next, we have a Global Mogul, a game about dominance across the world for market share. Are you going to head to emerging markets or the current markets? You've got these public orders to fill, private orders to fill, a real juicy economic game. Now, this one is winning no awards for how it looks, and no one really knows about it. I'll put it out on the table and people look at me strangely. So this is why it's an excellent solo game for me, because I just struggle to get it out on multiplayer. So solo then, you're literally just competing against the opponent, the AI opponent, which will be doing certain things like they'll be taking a private contract from the public supply, or well, from the supply, and a public one from the supply, and they'll be bolstering up the venture capitalists. So there's a few little things they do, but it's really streamlined, and you just toddle along. You're trying to put your agents out across the globe to get produce so you can then get more money. You can build certain businesses that have loads of benefits and also VPs. You're getting more agents out, and you've got these 5 actions where you can send to do a host of different things. As I said, emerging markets, so you're prepping for the next round, and just really emulates a lot of core economic aspects, and you feel like you're running this organization, this business, running a global mogul. So yes, really enjoy this one. I get this out a lot, and it's a nice thinky one to get you thinking as to, you know, this challenge of how am I going to compete against the opponent and win this one. So there we are. So the 8th game we have is Gigawatt. I've also brought you a solo playthrough on this one recently, and this is a game I thoroughly enjoy. Again, slightly different. You're running this energy market. You've got this little nation, and you're trying to make those dirty fuels turned into renewable sources so you can power your nation, meet the demand, and take the victory. Now this one, it's a bit of luck in terms of your role in these demand dice. Depends what phase you're in. Phase 1's 1, phase 2 is 2, and the game really escalates. But I love that, this uncontrolled rolling of what that demand is going to be, and it opens up new investment opportunities for new infrastructure. It just really does a grand job. You've got these external markets you can utilize in this particular version, and there's not really a lot else that changed from the multiplayer. In the multiplayer, you're literally dependent on your opponents for trading goods, well, energy, surplus, and a deficit. Whereas this, they're just classed as external markets, so you can still treat them the same, and you have to develop the infrastructure to be able to transfer, I think they're called transmitters, where you can transmit up to 4 energy at a time, so your nation doesn't have those penalties. But yeah, it does a really nice job of emulating this energy transition and this lovely race aspect and that uncontrolled feel, which is very thematic, I would say, in how the energy markets have been in the last few years. Up next then, we have Crisis, a game I have really been enjoying recently. It's got this dark board. I believe it's based on the Greece Euro crisis, where they had the financial crisis there and they all went bankrupt and what have you. So it's kind of loosely based on that. Now, typically this game is not cooperative, but you're kind of all working to the same, well, you're trying to all achieve a certain victory point marker. You're trying to get to it and achieve it so you can, you know, get VPs and you can keep the economy stable, because if you're all not contributing to this economy, the economy is going to collapse and everyone will lose. Now, in this particular version, there are specific solo cards you add in. There's difficulty levels, and it can get real hard playing this one. So there's a lot to think about, but it does a nice job of keeping you challenged, trying to meet that next victory point target. You're getting closer, and you don't want the economy to drop into the red zone because then negative things will happen. But typically, this game, worker placement, you're sending your workers out. Maybe you're getting other workers to then power these businesses you have, and the more workers you have there, the more you can produce from it. If these multipliers, you can go and get these dodgy businesses, I can't remember what they're called now, but you can get some nice bonuses off them. You're hustling to get these resources for your requirements. You can then go and export these. You're going to go to the black market or just the exporting market to make your VPs to keep up with the game as you race to the end, and it quickly escalates. You needing more and more points, but by that time, hopefully your infrastructure is developed and you're producing so much resource that you're all good. But yeah, it does a really good job. This one solo keeps the brain thinking, which I really enjoy. But yep, there we are, Crisis. And the final game we have, I have played this to death and I will continue to play it. This is Ark Nova. So this game, folks, now you've got this little board where you have so many actions, and I believe it's 7 little tokens, and every time you do an action you move it to the right. Once all these cubes have got to the bottom, you will trigger a break. And then it shows you on here, you move 1 cube over to the conservation board where you block out one of those markers. And you just keep going. So by the end, you've got like 3 or 4 or 3 turns in your go before the break. So it really speeds up nicely. I like how you start with more income and you're literally doing the same stuff. You're trying to develop this zoo, get animals in there, build enclosures for them. You're trying to hustle and make certain things work for you. I've tried pretty much all of the different zoo maps. They're all great. Some are worse than others. Now, the only thing for me is the cycling through the deck. It's a big old deck and you're not going to cycle through it that much unless you're using the cards ability. So for me, some games, yep, you might just be stuck with certain combos and things just don't come out for you, but you have to make the most of what is out there, what conservations need fulfilling, what cards come into play, but still absolutely enjoy that to the max. And I'm always there, a tense finish. Am I going to cross and what are my points going to be scored versus the table, and to see how good I am. So Ark Nova, most people know this game, most people own it. Maybe you're thinking it's a little bit intimidating giving it a go on the solo, but go and have a look. It's literally streamlined with this little board, as I say. You're moving the actions across. Yes, sometimes you can't do the pilfering and those little take that things that commonly happen in the multiplayer game. You just do the action at the bottom. So yes, there we are, 10 games that I think you should go and have a look at if you want to sit down and play something solo. So I did promise you a few games at the end that just to bring and highlight them to your attention. So let's have a look what we got then. So first up, we have Empire then, a game I have actually brought you on the channel. This one plays solo only. Now it's a nice little puzzle, this game. It's a print and play. You can actually buy the physical copy. I'm not sure you could buy it actually. It was kickstarted out. It's a nice little puzzle, but I have played it out. Very similar buildings, very similar actions. Nice to take to work, just do some in your lunch break. But for me, I am probably done with this game. But if you want a little puzzle that plays quickly, have a look at this one. We've got John Company 2nd edition. I haven't even played this game yet, but it does have a solo option. Can't wait to see what that works like. Maybe it might have quite a lot of administration to it, no idea. But just to be mindful, if you've played it, there's a solo option as well. We've got Clans of Caledonia. I love this game. Great multiplayer. Loads of fun from this one. But it has a solo option. Curious to see how that one works. Cape May, another nice sort of retail building development game by the seaside. Fantastic little game this, and looks great. Love the simplicity of building and generating money, building again, this sort of constant cycle. And it has a solo option there, Star Tycoon. Now, I haven't included this. It would have been on my 10, but it's not even out yet. It's still awaiting to be delivered to Kickstarter backers. But this one has a really nice, not a campaign, but you can work through 2-3 games as you try and beat your score, and you have to win all 3 to, you know, win the little mini campaign, shall we say. Now, I believe they are bringing some additional rules to the solo version as well, but the actual theme of this and the challenge you've got of achieving these goals and getting to victory points is really enjoyable and probably would have featured quite high on my list. We've got Smartphone. I mentioned it. I've not played this one. I've got Mobile Markets here in the list. So yeah, go and check out if you like that sort of thing, developing your phones and what have you. That has got a solo option. We've got Carnegie now. I tried to give this one a game of solo. I've tried twice and I'm there looking at the rules. For me, the game is really, really good, but solo, just too much upkeep for me and I just got put off. So, yep, tell me what you think. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I just felt there was too much to do and I'll just play that multiplayer in future. We've got Arkwright, the card game. This has a solo option. I've yet to try it solo. I like the game a lot with multiplayer and I think I could probably get on board with this one, but the administration again would be something I'd have to have a look at, but I really would like to play this more, so maybe solo option is there. Magnate. Okay, really interesting game this, of developing your retail or your houses or your technology, the large blue buildings, can't remember what they're called now, and you're developing on these varied boards, trying to make the most money. But it's not about rent. Well, you're earning money from rent, but you want to sell out as quick as you can before the market crashes. Now, I have recently just given this one game of solo. It was good. It took a long time. There is a bit of upkeep as to what your opponent does, but it surprised me. It was better than I had expected, but it hasn't quite made the top 10 on this occasion. But yeah, Magnate does work well with solo. And finally, we've got, I always say this wrong, Hegemony. So this game I have had a blast with at 2 and 3 players. I need to try 4 players with the government being utilised. But you can use the solo modules to add on to multiplayer games to make the most of those. I have then looked, well, if that's even a word, I have not looked at the solo version. It's a big old game. I'm still getting used to it. And the solo one, yeah, I think this will probably feature in the list if I had have played it. So yeah, looking forward to giving that one a go, but quite a daunting task there. And there we are, folks. That is literally all the solo games I've got additional there. Thank you all for watching, and if you want to support the channel, head over to Patreon. We've got a QR code here, link in the description, and I've got early access videos, and I've got final thoughts, first impressions content on there as well. See you all soon.